Hi, thank you so much for participating in the Lily Mae Francis Foundation interview on depression. I'll start by introducing myself. I am Lynn Collins Mai, co-founder of the Lily Mae Francis Foundation. And your name?
Hey, I'm Kokila.
Okay.
I live in Atlanta and I'm 40 years old.
All right. Thanks so much for participating, Kokila. I'm going to jump in, okay?
Okay.
All right. What is your definition of depression?
So this is almost from a personal experience. Um, I don't think there is any specific situation, whether it's, socioeconomic or, what happens at professional or personal life that basically causes it. For me, depression has been something that just kind of hits you all of a sudden. Sometimes you don't even realize what's going on. Right. So I think, depression is definitely something which more of us should be aware about. If not just for our own sake, our own mental health, at least to help people around us. Because when I had that experience, it was like, first time, not just for me, but for my spouse, my parents and everybody. It took a lot of time for everybody to realize what it was. So, like I said, depression for me, it doesn't have any specific cause, it not necessarily any specific symptom. I think anybody, any one of us can be impacted by it, at any given point of time. So to me, it is a very serious thing, right? Something that we definitely have to be aware of. So we will be able to acknowledge it when it happens to us, or when it happens, when somebody around us is going through that. So
Absolutely. Okay. So, and you kind of answered my next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just in case
yeah,
it changes, right? So, do you think most people experience depression from time to time?
I think we do. Like you said, again, going from personal experience, right? I think it is definitely more common
Mhm.
than what we all think. I think it's because, be it from, pop culture, seeing movies or reading books, we all have this very stereotypical, thought of what depression is, what depression could be, that I don't think a lot of us even realize. We might just chalk it up to, oh, hey, what, it's a low day today, I'm just stressed, or you can say a lot of things, work stress, that stress and thing. But I definitely feel it's way more common than we all think it is. um that's my take on it. It is way more common.
Okay.
And I think, we do have like very stereotypical
Mhm.
thing of how what a depression is, that a lot of time we don't realize it.
Okay. So then, personally, have you experienced depression, and if so, how do you cope?
So for me, it was like, around 6 or 7 years back. Very normal, just everyday life, no major life change situation or anything like that. I'm working on a project that's going full steam. The way I realized how it was, I didn't obviously realize it all, initially, right? But Lynn, we know each other, right? You know how talkative I'm generally am. Basically, my energy outside of work started going down,
Mm.
right? Work as usual, calls, work calls, everything was as usual. But I didn't realize after like 3 or 4 days that the only time I was not going to the office, I was just working from home. And manager, everybody thought it was because, I was like working late hours. I won't eat the entire day. I didn't even realize what was going on. I was just working, and like around 11:30, 12, I'll suddenly think at night, I'll be like, you know what, I'm hungry. I'll probably go eat something. My husband was traveling that time. When he calls, it's like, I'm like, yeah, yeah, nothing much to talk. I just didn't feel like I had anything to talk. I'm a person who calls my home back in India, my family, every night, their time, our morning, to wish my parents good night and tell them, like, ask them how their day went. Are they doing okay? I will make the call, but as usual, I had nothing to say. Like slowly I was like, okay, and I didn't want to talk to anybody because I didn't feel like I had anything to tell anyone. Work was going good, so I was not thinking too much about that. But it was like almost close to 2 or 3 weeks before my husband realized that, I'm not talking. I'm not talking outside of anything. I'm just sitting there next to him watching TV, but I'm not actually having a conversation. I just realized I had no human interaction except weekends when my husband comes back home after his travel. I was not going into the office. And I, like, every day morning, you just wake up, pick up the laptop from under the bed, start working on it, then keep it down, go brush your teeth. I was not taking shower, doing nothing. I didn't even realize what was going on. I didn't even realize it was like nearly 3 or 4 weeks before my manager realized he had not seen me in office. And he was like, hey, I was just wondering, is it going, things going good? I see emails from you coming at 2, 3 in the morning. Are you okay? Do you need help? And then I realized, like, oh, shoot, it's been 4 weeks. I didn't go into the office. And I was like, no, no, I'm okay. I'm going to come in. Same thing, go into office, work. The moment you step out of office, that's it. I don't have anything to tell anyone. I don't want to talk to anybody. And finally my husband was like, once he was like, he just gave me a phone, like a questionnaire, and he told me, just humor me, fill this questionnaire.
Mm.
And I was like, it was something related to mental health. And I was like, I started filling it, and it came, you know please consult a specialist or anything like that. And my husband was like, you know what, let's do it. It's, I don't know whether you realized it or not, like, we are all worried. You just have to. And I'm like, it was like, it hit me then, like, oh, okay, yeah, I've not been talking to anybody, other than thing. And that was how it was. And it also, at the same time, we had travel booked to back home. So I told my husband, you know what, let's go home, and in India I'll meet somebody, right? We'll tell dad, and my father will know someone. We'll go meet a specialist, meet a counselor, somebody there. But luckily for me, the moment I stepped in, got out of the flight in India, it was like as if like a fog lifted off me, and it was like suddenly, I didn't realize I needed, whether it was the change of place or whatever. For me, I literally could feel like as if I started breathing again. And by the time I stepped out of the airport, it was like I could feel that I'm back to normal. I had things to
Yeah.
tell my husband.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, hey, that was going on. And you could see when I saw my mom, I'm starting to talk to her. You could see like she's all welling up. And I'm like, okay, no, 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 everything is okay. No, I'm here, right? And like 2 days later, she says, like, I have not heard from you in like 1.5 months or so. You were calling every day, but we hardly heard from you.
Mm.
You didn't say anything. You were not saying anything. You were just like, what else? What else? That's all.
Mm.
So I think since that time, I've been more aware. My family is also more aware. So now I tell them, like, okay, hey, you know what, I don't feel good. I
Mm.
sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm shutting down. Nothing else, right? Nothing, no issues, or no work stress or anything, just your regular day. And it's like suddenly I feel like, okay, I'm shutting down. I can feel it. I can feel like I'm like slowing down. And I immediately, I look at, I go down, I try to look at my husband, and I'm like, do I feel like talking? And the moment I know I don't want to, I tell him, like, okay, you know what, hey, I need to go for a drive, I need to do something. So, but then if it kind of goes for a bit more time, and I've been a bit more open with my GP. I tell her, like, hey, I have sometimes I have this. So I had to notify everybody, especially after my pregnancy, after my son came through. I wanted to be sure that I'm not shutting down like that, right? Without acknowledging it. So I think now I'm more aware, and because of that, now my family is more aware, right? And everybody now understands. No rhyme or reason, just that sometimes she needs that break. So
Mm. That's awesome though. Self-awareness is key, right?
yeah, yeah,
Just being able to check yourself and say, okay, this is not a good day. I'm not feeling well today. So once you realize that that's happening, then being able to put some coping skills in
yeah,
place that says, these are the things I need to do to
yeah,
make myself feel better, or, just write, start journaling or
yes.
anything, the things that you enjoy, right, will help
Correct,
you with that.
correct. No, definitely, you definitely need something to ground yourself. It can
Mhm.
be, for me personally, it can be something simple as picking up my phone and seeing a video of my son, something like that. I
Absolutely.
immediately need something to ground myself. I'm like, okay, okay, you could feel that I'm going into that blank space.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, I immediately, first thing I tell my husband, like, hey, I don't feel okay. The next thing is I need to do something that will ground me, like
Mhm.
pick up a pen and just scribble something,
Yeah, drawing,
anything, like to
coloring.
make me
Yeah,
feel, or just go for a walk,
yeah.
that helps me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you think enough attention and focus is given to mental illness, and why?
I think nowadays we see it is kind of like, I feel like it's a double-edged sword now. We are, there is more awareness, right? Because, like, for somebody like me, now when I hear people talk about mental health, now I relate to it more,
Mm,
right? I understand the importance of it and things like that. So I think, now overall, with the way things are going, in general world, people are now trying to be more aware of, okay, hey, it is not just somebody acting out, or not just somebody trying to blow us off, that someone might be genuinely going through some sort of mental health issue, right? They might be going through a period of depression or anything like that. So I think we are doing it. I just hope, when there's all this focus and everything, it's not just almost like a hogwash, right? Everybody's just doing like a checkbox, like, yeah, yeah, our
yeah.
organization, we dealt with it, we spoke about it, yeah, we have some mechanism to manage it.
Mhm.
I just hope that, it is more, a lot of it has to be even more individual, because from my culture, in my culture, it is still a little bit of taboo, right? So when I tell my cousin, like, hey, maybe you need to, people don't like it, right? Like, they don't like, so, there are a lot of cultural inflections also in place. But I think, it's good that more awareness is happening, mainly because of the way the world is going. But I just hope that,
And actually, you brought me to another one of my questions, actually. So one of my questions is, why do you think there's such a stigma attached to depression or mental illness in our communities? So why do you think that is?
I mean, personally for me, right, coming from Indian culture, uh, for us, I think, see, my parents went to college, educated and everything, but still, for them to realize that mental health is a spectrum, right? It is not necessarily, when I say I have some sort of issue, doesn't necessarily mean, like, you have to lock me up or do, that's the
Absolutely.
sort of thing they immediately go to, right?
Right.
Very simple thing. When my son was born, and I was like, oh, what, maybe we just need to fill out those questionnaire to see anything. My mom was getting freaked out, and I was like, okay, see, it is not necessarily, it is all, mental health is a whole new spectrum. We're all on it. I
Right.
said, when you
Absolutely.
say, oh, I'm getting angry, it is all, it is all in the spectrum.
Oh, yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
when each of us have our own meltdowns or tantrums, it's all on the spectrum. So I think, a lot of culture exposure,
Mhm.
right? At least for me, in the Indian culture now, it's kind of becoming, people are talking a bit more. You have celebrities
Yes.
talking and all those things. But yeah, for me personally, it is still a lot of these culture, and then some of those other things as well. Your economic, socio-economic things as well, right? Like, oh, in our times, everybody was working so hard and things like that. We never had time to pause and think about all these things that now your generation is doing. And we have to tell them, like, no, 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 no. People in every generation had the issue.
Oh, absolutely.
Some
Just
people
because it
had,
wasn't acknowledged,
yeah. I
it doesn't mean it
suggested
was
we are
solved.
acknowledging it.
Yeah.
As your friends, your family was basically suffering through it, and you didn't know it.
Mhm.
So I think, that's probably, where the stigma come from. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you had a friend or a loved one that was experiencing depression or some sign of mental illness, what advice would you give them?
I think the first thing we have to tell anybody is that it's okay. It is nothing, it's doesn't make you any less of a person that you are, right?
Mhm.
We all have it. You
Mhm.
are probably having it in a much more pronounced way, whereas I'm still maybe doing a better job of concealing it, or,
Mhm.
just keeping it in tab.
Mhm.
To I think we need to tell everybody that we are in this together. It's not just a you problem, right? In a family circle, in a friend circle, in a colleague circle, it's all of us together that will, because it'll slowly start impacting everybody in some shape or fashion.
Mhm.
So I think the best thing, the foremost thing to tell them is that you're not alone,
Mhm.
right? And you're not alone, and there is nothing wrong with you. that this happens to everybody, it is okay to ask for help, right? It
Yeah,
is okay to lift your hand anytime and say, okay, I need help. I need something
absolutely.
to, I'm struggling. So,
Okay. Do you know where to find resources if someone was having a mental health crisis?
so at least now with respect to Google and everything, you can look for, your county based
Mhm.
things. Yeah, I know the first thing to do, I can reach out to my GP, your primary physician, you can reach out to them. And I know, like, for example, in the company that I work for, we have a member, there's a program
Okay.
where you would be able to call a mental health professional. That is like a nurse line, which you
Mm.
can call. And like I said, after my pregnancy, I have all those specific resources.
Mhm.
Um, but how many of us know about it? Like, did I know about it when I was actually going through it? I probably did not.
Right.
Right? It was more like after the fact.
Mhm.
Now like, oh, okay, so my company always had that. Did I know it before? I never paid
Absolutely.
attention.
Most
Right?
people don't, right?
Yeah, until, so I think they're there, but I think personally, I would like to be more aware of them
Mhm.
than what I am right now. Yeah,
And that's part of what Lily Mae Francis is trying to do, trying to make people more aware and get our resources more available so that, the more people that know can share and more people can get help that need it.
yeah.
Okay. Last question. How do you think we can start having regular conversations as it pertains to mental health in general?
I think, in workplaces, in schools, in colleges, in general communities, friend circle, I, I, we definitely need to have safe spaces that is
Mm,
created for people, right? If, let's say, for example, if I don't want to open up to somebody that I know, some people might still have that sort of thing, right? Like, I don't want to be open to someone whom I know, because I don't want to be judged, right,
right.
for my issues. So I think, community-based safe spaces, where you can call somebody, you can tell them, like, hey, this is what my situation is, this is what I'm going through, right? Without having to tell much details about myself,
Right.
fear of, and without the fear of somebody judging you. I
Mhm.
think that's the biggest thing, where it'll be awesome if we can obviously do it within our friend circle and within the within the community that we are aware of, that we know. But I think overall, having a lot more easily accessible safe spaces like call lines and all those things are always going to help people.
Okay.
So give them the anonymity as well,
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
deal with it. So
Okay. I really enjoyed your candor and your opinions and information that you gave. I appreciate you taking part in our interview today.
no,
So
thank you so much for.
if possible, Kokila, I would love to be able to circle back to you if we have any additional interviews or anything that we would welcome your opinion on if
Definitely would
possible.
love to. Thanks, Lynn.
Okay.
Thanks for inviting me for this.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. You have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.